Hi, my dear
We need to
listeners.
talk about this.
Before today's story begins, I want to thank three wonderful women whose comments truly brightened my day. Stephanie Clark from Des Moines, Iowa, Erica Coleman from Tallahassee, Florida, and Megan Bryant from Spokane Valley, Washington. It means so much to have you here. And before we continue, please subscribe to the channel because YouTube often doesn't show the end of the video to viewers who aren't subscribed. Now tell me, where are you listening from today? The melody floated through the bustling hotel lobby in Austin, wrapping around the polished marble floors and high ceilings like a forgotten whisper. Rebecca Thompson, the formidable CEO of Apex Innovations, paused abruptly in the middle of her conference call, her latte hovering inches from her lips. The notes tugged at something deep within her, a chord struck long ago that her heart remembered before her brain could name it. It was the tune William had composed for her 2 decades earlier, back when their worlds were full of promise and before ambition had carved canyons between them. But how could it be playing here, now, in this unrelated place? Her pulse quickened, a warmth spreading through her chest that she hadn't felt in years. David Martinez's hands danced across the ivory keys of the grand piano with a familiar grace. It wasn't the finest instrument he'd ever touched, nothing like the one he'd been forced to part with during tougher times, but it sang beautifully under his touch. He played from memory, the melody surfacing unbidden on this ordinary afternoon. Beside him on the bench, his 7-year-old daughter, Sophia, swung her small legs, her eyes wide with wonder. "That's so pretty, Daddy," she murmured, her voice soft as a secret. "Did you make it up yourself?" David glanced down at her with a gentle smile, his fingers never faltering. "No, kiddo. An old friend shared it with me ages ago." The full story was more layered, tangled in memories he rarely revisited. In college, his roommate William had poured his soul into this piece for a woman he adored beyond reason. William had rehearsed it endlessly, filling their cramped dorm with its haunting strains until David, half exasperated and half enchanted, had begged to learn it just to give feedback. He'd never met the girl in question. Life had pulled her and William apart soon after they graduated. Yet the song had lingered in David's mind like an echo in an empty room. He kept playing, oblivious to the woman across the lobby who stood frozen, her phone slipping from her ear as the music pulled her under. Rebecca couldn't tear herself away. The melody yanked her back to her final year at university, to a dimly lit practice room where William had unveiled it with trembling hands. "I named it Rebecca's Whisper," he'd said, his gaze locking onto hers with the intensity of young love. Mere weeks later, she'd accepted a prestigious internship in London that catapulted her into the corporate world. William pursued his composition dreams at a renowned conservatory on the East Coast. They were both so driven, so certain that true love would circle back if it was destined. It never did. And now, in this Austin hotel during a routine business summit, a stranger was resurrecting it. Her assistant gently nudged her elbow. "Ms. Thompson, everything okay?" Rebecca blinked, the present rushing back in a haze. "That music," she breathed. "I have to find out who's behind it." She crossed the lobby in a daze, her elegant pumps echoing sharply against the stone. As she neared, she saw him, a man with tousled dark hair, his posture relaxed yet focused, a little girl with braids perched at his side, mimicking his hand movements in the air. David sensed her approach, his eyes lifting to meet hers as her silhouette interrupted the light. He wasn't William. Of course not. But the recognition in her stare made his notes stumble slightly. "I'm sorry to interrupt," Rebecca said, heat rising in her cheeks at her own boldness. "That piece you're playing, where did you learn it?" David's hands paused on the keys, surprise flickering across his face. She was poised and professional in her sleek blazer, but the raw emotion in her eyes disarmed him. "It's an original," he replied steadily. "My college buddy wrote it." William Carter? Rebecca whispered, her voice catching. David's brow furrowed in astonishment. You knew William? I'm Rebecca, she said, as if that explained everything. He stared, piecing it together. Rebecca Thompson. The Rebecca. Sophia tugged at his shirt. Daddy, who's she? David squeezed her shoulder reassuringly. Sophia. This is an old friend of a friend from way back. Turning to Rebecca, he added, William talked about you nonstop. He created this for you. Rebecca nodded, her throat tight with unshed tears. I know. I never imagined hearing it again. The sheer improbability of it all hung between them like a fragile thread. David Martinez, a widowed elementary school music teacher raising his daughter alone, had chosen this melody in the lobby of the hotel where Rebecca was lodged for her conference. They migrated to the hotel cafe, where Sophia busied herself with crayons and a menu-turned coloring page courtesy of the barista. Over steaming mugs, they unraveled the threads of time. William passed away 8 years ago, David said softly, gauging her reaction. A sudden heart issue, gone too soon. Rebecca's eyes fluttered shut for a moment, a wave of regret crashing over her. She'd lost touch after their split, both too stubborn to bridge the gap, each assuming the other had soared without looking back. He never settled down, David went on, but he made his mark, scored films, even won awards. He'd be amazed at what you've built. Rebecca's empire spanned tech giants, her name synonymous with innovation in boardrooms worldwide. Yet in this quiet corner, those achievements felt hollow. And you? She asked, her gaze softening on Sophia. Your little one is adorable. David's expression warmed, though shadowed by old pain. Her mom passed when Sophia was just a toddler. Cancer. It's been us against the world since. Daddy's the greatest, Sophia piped up, not looking up from her drawing. He plays songs and makes silly faces and reads me stories every night. Rebecca's lips curved into a genuine smile, a spark of kinship igniting for this unassuming duo. Rebecca's flight back to Boston was set for dawn, but she delayed it, surprising even herself. There was an authenticity in David, his patient way with Sophia, the effortless music that seemed to emanate from his soul, his grounded humility, that drew her in like a beacon. David, for his part, was stunned that Rebecca Thompson, the legend from William's tales, wanted to linger in his ordinary orbit. He scraped by on a teacher's salary, buried in medical bills from his late wife's illness. You don't need to babysit us, he protested when she proposed. A trip to the nearby botanical gardens. I'm sure your schedule's packed. Rebecca's response came from a place she hadn't accessed in years. Nothing's more pressing than this. The following days blurred into a whirlwind of rediscovery. Rebecca shuffled calls and emails to her team, freeing up time for outings with David and Sophia, strolling through parks, sharing ice cream cones, and evenings where David played soft tunes after Sophia's bedtime stories. What made you memorize William's why song? She asked one night. The lobby deserted save for them. David's fingers glided over the keys, the notes filling the space with quiet intensity. He was fixated on perfecting it for you. Dragged me into practicing so he could hear an outside perspective. After you parted ways, I'd play it to remind myself that profound love is real, even when it fades. Rebecca's vision blurred with moisture. I never let go of him entirely. I just prioritized dreams over us. David dipped his head in, understanding. He always called you the one that slipped away. On her intended departure eve, a crisis erupted at headquarters, a merger teetering on collapse, demanding her immediate return. I can't stay, she told David, her tone laced with sorrow. They stood in the hallway of his cozy apartment, Sophia's door ajar after tucking her in. I get it, he replied, masking his letdown. Empires don't run themselves. Rebecca studied him, really saw him. the lines of quiet strength around his eyes, the way he'd awakened a dormant yearning for genuine bonds in her sterile life of deals and deadlines. "Come with me," she blurted. David blinked, caught off guard. "Pardon?" "You and Sophia to Boston. Just a short trip," she clarified, noting his hesitation. "Summer breaks here. Sophia would adore the harbor and the parks. And I—" She trailed off, vulnerability cracking her composure. "I'm not prepared to end this." 3 weeks on, David marveled at the view from Rebecca's luxurious condo. Overlooking the Charles River, his life upended in the best way. Sophia was captivated by the city's energy, Rebecca's expansive home, and how Rebecca hung on her every word like precious gems. David, meanwhile, tumbled headlong into feelings that scared him senseless. Rebecca inhabited a realm of luxury suites and high-stakes negotiations. He coached scales to fidgety kids and budgeted meticulously. What could he bring to her table? Rebecca noticed his growing distance. One twilight, post Sophia's bedtime, she found him at her Steinway, coaxing out William's melody. "You're retreating," she observed, settling beside him. David's hands stilled, the silence heavy. "Rebecca, what are we even chasing? Our worlds don't align." "Don't they?" She covered his hand with hers, the warmth of her palm seeping into his skin like sunlight through clouds. "I've chased success for 2 decades, amassing fortunes and influence, but it never mended the void from choosing career over heart." "You cherished William," David murmured. "Yes," she affirmed, "and his music guided me to you. Perhaps that's his parting blessing." David met her eyes, this extraordinary woman who'd entered his existence via fate's quirky detour. "I'm only a teacher with lingering debts and a simple life in Austin." Rebecca's smile was tender. "And I'm a driven executive who lost touch with joy until a lobby piano revived it." She inched nearer, her breath mingling with his. "Confession time. I've spoken with the head of music at Boston Academy. They're seeking a department lead." David's jaw slackened. "Rebecca, you shouldn't have." "I merely dropped your name," she said. "The rest is yours." "But David—" She clasped his hand tighter. "These days with you two have transformed me. I won't let chance rob us like it did William and me." 9 months later, David waited backstage at the Boston Symphony Center, fidgeting with his cufflinks as Sophia solemnly arranged wildflowers on the piano stool. It was DIAC, the inaugural gala for the Rebecca Thompson Arts Initiative, and his daughter embraced her role with grave importance. His new post at Boston Academy thrived, his enthusiasm igniting sparks in students from all walks. Rebecca materialized at his side, radiant in an emerald dress. "Anxious?" she inquired, threading her fingers through his. "Petrified," he confessed. "This crowd's immense." "Just like that Austin lobby," she encouraged. "It was flawless." The MC boomed. "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David Martinez performing Rebecca's Whisper by the late William Carter." David gripped her hand before stepping into the light. At the keys, he spotted Sophia in the front, beaming beside Rebecca's siblings who'd traveled from afar. As the melody unfolded, David reflected on the winding journey. A composition from 2 decades past reshaping his destiny, William's affection for Rebecca birthing this blended family anew. The music swelled, each phrase a bridge between yesterday's and tomorrow's. The tale of David, Rebecca, and Sophia captured hearts when a podcast featured the initiative's launch. Audiences were enchanted by the CEO who paused at a stranger's tune, echoing her lost love, and how it wove their paths into one. Rebecca steered her firm with renewed balance, prioritizing life beyond ledgers. David's program inspired nationwide reforms. Sophia flourished amid melodies and affection, often recounting how a song sparked their family. For their anniversary, David unveiled a fresh piece, weaving William's motifs into vibrant new harmonies. "Title?" Rebecca asked, their hands entwined on the keys in their shared haven. David grinned. Unexpected harmonies. For the sweetest symphonies emerge from life's improvised refrains.